Welcome back to Half the Battle. I'm your host, as always, Daniel Levy, and today we're going to talk about UFC 288, Aljamain Sterling versus Henry Cejudo, and it's going live this Saturday night, live at the Prudential Center in Newark, New Jersey. The bantamweight title is on the line. You got the champ, Aljamain Sterling, defending against the former two-division champ, Henry Cejudo. And Henry never really lost his belt at bantamweight. You know, he actually vacated the night that he beat Dominic Cruz via knockout. He retired that night. And then a whole bunch of messy stuff happened to get to this point. I mean, y'all remember Petr Yan won the belt. You know, it was vacant. He won the belt against Jose Aldo. You know, he did some good stuff. But then he knocked out Aljamain Sterling with that knee. And then they called Aljamain Sterling the winner. So Aljamain Sterling gets knocked out in a fight, and then they call him the champion. So it was kind of crazy. Yeah, I know it was an illegal knee, but it's just funny that, like, you know, when you knock a grown man out and they call him the winner, right? Like, even Joe Rogan was like, okay, maybe Peter shouldn't walk home with the belt after that, but like Aljo shouldn't win the belt off getting knocked out. Like, but that being said, man, I mean, Aljo turned around. He beat Peter in the rematch. Now, I kind of thought the score was controversial. That's me, but so what? Bottom line is he got his arm raised against Peter in the rematch, and then he mopped the floor with TJ Dillashaw in his second title defense. So whether we like it or not, Aljamain Sterling is the reigning, defending, undisputed bantamweight champion of the world. And, you know, Henry Cejudo, one of the greatest combat sports athletes of all time, is attempting further greatness here. So this is just an amazing fight, and the card is stacked. So without further ado, let's get right down to business. So main event of the evening for the bantamweight belt, we got the champ, Aljamain Sterling. He's 22-3, taking on the former Olympic gold medalist, the former two-division champ, flyweight and bantamweight, defended both those belts, Henry Cejudo, who's 16-2. Does he still go by the Messenger, or did he get rid of that nickname? Currently, they got it Aljamain Sterling -120, Henry Cejudo +100. So it's a pick 'em with a slight lean on the current champ, Aljamain Sterling. And I mean, I get it. He's the one that's been active. He's the one that, you know, in people's memories, like, they remember how he just smashed TJ Dillashaw. And even though I'm going to talk a little bit of shit about Aljo's two Petr Yan fights, I'm not going to at all discredit his TJ Dillashaw win. Like, it's not his fucking fault that TJ Dillashaw was allegedly injured, but even that, like, tons of dudes are injured going into fights. And Aljo mopped the floor with TJ Dillashaw. So I'm not going to be one to discredit that win like a lot of people are. But I must also note, Henry Cejudo also fought TJ Dillashaw, and I mean, he got him out of there even quicker. And y'all can say weight cut this, weight cut that. I mean, TJ was on fucking, he was on the kind of, he was injecting the kind of vitamins and fruits and vegetables into his ass that, like, they banned him for a few years because of that shit. You know, he was coming in there Lance Armstrong strong, you know what I'm saying? And my boy TJ Dillashaw had a Live Strong bracelet when he walked into the octagon against Henry Cejudo, you know what I'm saying? But so Henry, he beats Demetrius Johnson. A lot of people thought it was a controversial decision. I don't. I mean, I thought it was a close fight. I thought that you had to score it round by round. But at the end of the day, I still come up with 3-2 for Henry Cejudo. So while DJ's rounds might have been more dominant than Henry's, like especially that first round when Henry was just getting his fucking calf kicked, and it was like that nerve kind of numbed a little bit, kind of like y'all remember that Michael Chandler versus Brent Primus fight. And the fact that Henry went through what he did in that first round against Demetrius Johnson, right? Like, he's rolling over his ankle, he's doing the whole bit, and then he comes back to win that fight. Like, that's a true competitor right there, man. Like, I know a lot of y'all are stuck on this whole, oh, Demetrius got robbed bullshit. No, he did not get robbed. You got to square it round by round, okay? But the fact, like, let's even forget, like, who we scored the fight for. The fact that Henry overcame that first round where, like, his leg was completely done, he's rolling all over his ankle. It's like, oh man, DJ's about to get another first round finish. The fact that he overcame that and then went on to win subsequent rounds, like, you just got to give a lot of credit to the kind of competitor that Henry Cejudo is. So he wins the belt off DJ, and then TJ decides that he wants to test the waters at flyweight. And interestingly enough, one of the things I criticized Demetrius for the longest time, and all respect to Demetrius, technique-wise, Demetrius is one of the best to ever do it. But one of the things I always criticized Demetrius for was that he had the option to be the guy to beat TJ Dillashaw at flyweight. And he said he wanted to fight Ray Borg instead. So you all remember Dana's famous quote, "You want Ray Borg? We'll give you Ray Borg." But as soon as Henry got DJ out of the picture, he was like, "Yeah, fuck yeah, I'll fight TJ Dillashaw. I don't give a shit, man. Like, I'm the ultimate competitor." So you just love to see it. And then he goes up to bantamweight. And I know now it's easy to say, oh, Marlon Moraes has been knocked out 6 fights in a row. But you got to date back to what Marlon Moraes was like at that time. Marlon Moraes at that time when Henry fought him, because like people love to discredit people's resumes, but you got to look at where the fighter was at when they fought. And when Henry fought Marlon Moraes, bro, I mean, Marlon was knocking everybody out, including Aljamain Sterling, right? And that first round, Marlon put it on Henry. He was attacking that leg. He was going after him. And when Henry was able to take that and then give it back, I mean, y'all saw those tie clinch knees, but more importantly than the techniques that you saw Henry display, you saw Henry Cejudo single-handedly take the soul away from Marlon Moraes. And Marlon's never been the same since. I mean, Marlon's literally been knocked out, I believe, in 7 of his last 8 fights, right? So Henry just took the man's soul, and then he turns around and he gets the chance to fight one of the greatest bantamweights of all time in Dominic Cruz. And usually, like, when dudes would beat Cruz, like, I'm not talking about nowadays, I'm talking about like back then. I mean, even nowadays, Cruz is like still like, even in his, you know, his prime age or whatever, his, I say prime, even in his like, you know, advanced age, like, is not an easy guy to get a win off of. And like, usually when you do, I mean, like, even like Marlon Vera was losing like the first 2 rounds, which he is known for, right? But I'm just saying, like, Henry mopped the floor with Dominic Cruz, man, wins the first round, knocks him out in the second. So it was beautiful to see. And then he retired out of nowhere. I did not expect Henry Cejudo to retire. So there's a lot of talk about what's he going to look like coming back. But let me just say this. If this fight between Henry and Aljamain was, you know, 6 months removed from the Cruz fight, even a year removed from the Cruz fight, I'd absolutely hammer this plus 100 on Henry Cejudo. Now, let's talk about this kind of like GOAT conversation talk, right? Because I've heard a lot of people say that Henry Cejudo is the GOAT. And while I absolutely think that Henry Cejudo is one of the greatest combat sports athletes of all time, to call him the GOAT in MMA, I mean, like, I personally can't put him in front of John Jones. I personally can't put him in front of GSP. I personally can't put him in front of Anderson Silva. But if he wants to be in that conversation of being the GOAT, I'm not talking about one of the GOATs, I'm talking about the GOAT. He's got to come out here after this 3-year layoff, and he's got to make a statement against Aljamain Sterling, similar to how GSP made that statement against Michael Bisping, up a weight class, coming off a 3-year layoff, goes in there against the champ Bisping and doesn't just beat him, because GSP was often criticized for being boring and blah, blah, blah. And usually when people call fighters boring, I mean, unless a fighter's like actually boring, like Jake Shields or John Fitch, like Jake Shields and John Fitch are boring fighters. But GSP was not boring. GSP was very intelligent. And if you're losing money on his fights, I can see how you think he's boring. And we're going to talk about someone else that people call boring. And I know why y'all call this guy I'm going to talk about in the co-main event boring. It's because y'all lose every single time he fights, right? But real boring fighters are John Fitch and Jake Shields. Those guys are boring. But anyway, so GSP comes back after the 3-year layoff, smashes Bisping, wins the middleweight belt, goes off as a 2-division champ. John Jones this year comes back off a 3-year layoff, right? Goes up to heavyweight against Cyril Gane. We get the best odds we've ever had on John Jones in his entire career. I mean, since maybe like the Andre Guzmão fight or some shit, like his debut, right? And I mean, like, let's just put it this way. Francis Ngannou, like, the final score was 3-2. Francis Ngannou over Cyril Gane. It was a head-to-head close ass match. Whereas John Jones just went out there and mopped the floor with Ciryl Gane, like made him look like an amateur, made him look like all of a sudden now people think Ciryl Gane sucks. Whereas going into that fight, like some sharp people were confident on Ciryl Gane to beat John Jones. So the point I'm trying to make, because I know I can talk about this shit for hours. The point I'm trying to make here is that the greats, they can overcome 3-year layoffs. They can overcome all kinds of odds and all kinds of things that the normal and average fighter just simply can't overcome, right? So back to this conversation about people saying that Henry Cejudo is the GOAT. Well, like I just said, I don't have him in front of John Jones. I don't have him in front of GSP, and I don't have him in front of Anderson Silva. However, if he wants to enter that conversation, taking out Aljamain Sterling would be a fantastic place to start. Now, let's give Aljamain Sterling some credit too, man, because Aljamain Sterling is a guy that, I mean, if y'all been listening to my show for a while, y'all know I've disrespected Aljamain Sterling. I mean, I was the guy that went out there and bet Brian Caraway at plus 350 odds against Aljamain Sterling and cashed. And then I never cashed betting against him ever again, right? But I always like thought that, look, he's a ridiculous athlete. He's long. He's got great volume. And then what he's known for is he gets that single leg and he's able to transition to the back. And then once he human backpacks you, like you've seen good wrestlers like Cody Stamen, you know, get hit with that knee bar from the back. You know what I'm saying? The stretch, right? I always fuck up the name of that one. Y'all longtime listeners know what I'm talking about. But Aljamain Sterling has done a very good job with this specific body type that Henry Cejudo brings to the table. Whether we're talking about Jimmy Rivera, whether we're talking about Pedro Munoz, whether we're talking about TJ Dillashaw, Cody Stamen, right? So historically speaking, these short, stocky guys, Aljo's done a great job with. My only thing is that none of those guys had the wrestling credentials or the UFC championship status of a Henry Cejudo. So this is a big step up in competition as far as I'm concerned. It's just that another thing I'm concerned about is this, man, is that what's Henry going to look like on Friday on the scales, right? Like, because back when he was fighting Cruz, you know, he was doing, you know, obviously he trains that Fight Ready and he still trains that Fight Ready now, but he was doing the Fight Ready strength and conditioning program, Neuro Force 1. And not all the Fight Ready guys use that program. I mean, it's fucking expensive. You know what I mean? But Henry, he's rich. He can afford it. So going into the Cruz fight, y'all remember the shape that Henry was in? Like, dude, like Triple C was cocked. He was jacked. It was like, God damn, like, what kind of strength and conditioning program is this man on? You know what I'm saying? And like, it'd be like the most odd techniques, like just the most unconventional strength and conditioning that you've ever seen in your life. And like those dudes at Neuroforce 1, they know the most intricate details of things that I wouldn't even know the half of, and they narrow it down to a science. So that's why y'all saw after Cejudo took his first loss to DJ, he bounced back and he was a lot more fast twitch. He was a lot more explosive. He came in with a different stance. He went on to become a double champ, right? So what I need to know here is I need to pay attention on Friday. Show me what Cejudo looks like. If Cejudo's fat, then, you know, maybe we're switching our pick to Aljamain. But if Cejudo looks cocked, looks ripped, looks like the Triple C that was a champ, I mean, I think he's better than Aljamain. It's just that how great is Cejudo really? I mean, look, if we're talking like top 10, top 20 greatest fighters, for sure, put him up there. But when people call someone the GOAT, and I've been repeating myself, the GOAT conversation goes through John Jones. It goes through GSP. It goes through Anderson Silva. And while you got to respect Olympic gold medal, belts in 2 weight classes, defended both those belts, you know, Anderson Silva holds the UFC title defense record. And you can give me this DJ bullshit all you want, but like the fact of the matter is the only reason that Anderson Silva doesn't officially hold the record for most title defenses is because when he fought Travis Lutter missed weight. And at the time, when a competitor misses weight, they make it a non-title fight, which is bullshit because nowadays they changed that rule. If y'all remember when Justin Gaethje fought Charles Oliveira missed weight. So Charles Oliveira wasn't eligible to defend the belt or to win the belt, but Justin Gaethje, had he won that fight, he would have became the champ. So what I'm trying to say here is if back when Anderson fought Travis Lutter, if they had today's rules, he'd hold the record for most title defenses in UFC history. So as far as I'm concerned, I still think that Anderson is the GOAT as far as that's concerned. But John Jones is a guy who, what is he, 28-0, 29-0? Don't give me no 26-1 bullshit. He did not lose to Matt Hamill. He smashed Matt Hamill. And then the DC fight that got overturned. I mean, I watched two men get into a fight. I watched one man knock the other man out. So y'all can, he had, a pinch of salt in an Olympic swimming pool worth of metabolites. And now you're going to say that that's what taught him the technique for that head kick. Like, shut your fucking mouth, man. John Jones is the greatest to ever do it. I mean, he's about to be 30-0 if he goes out there and beats Stipe. Ridiculous stuff. And we're talking about belts in 2 weight classes. We're talking because Khabib never lost a fight either, but Khabib only had like 3 title defenses, not discrediting the great Khabib. He's amazing too. But Jones is just like, made his UFC debut, never lost a fight. It's just craziness. And he's a 2-division champ. So I can go off on a tangent about the GOATs, right? Back to this. Aljamain Sterling comes out there, and when he stands up, he has ridiculous output and ridiculous volume. And you go out there and you watch that fight that Aljamain Sterling had against Pedro Munoz, and that's a perfect example of it. Like, it might not look the prettiest. Actually, it doesn't look the prettiest at all. In fact, it looks pretty ugly. But it's effective because of his length. He's very athletic. He knows how to move, and he just goes for it. So you got to respect that. But one thing I've noticed from Aljamain, whether it's back in the Brian Caraway fight where I cashed that plus 350, all the way to the Pedro Munoz fight, all the way to the 2 Peter Yan fights, is because of his ridiculous output, he tends to slow down as fights progress. I mean, even in that 3rd round against Pedro Munoz, like, man, Pedro was landing some stabbing front kicks, and you could see that the wind coming out of Aljo, and Ray Longo was pleading in the corner, like shouting, like, Aljo, hang in there, buddy. Like, we got the fight won, just hang in there. And then you watched the 2 Peter Yan fights, and like, as it got to the championship rounds, both times, I mean, Aljo was fading badly. Henry is not a guy you want to fade against. But let me just say this. What are the chances here that Aljo is able to just get that single and transition to the back, and then from there, he's insane on the back? You got to give him credit. I mean, his back control is ridiculous. Like, what are the chances he can backpack an Olympic gold medalist? On paper, it doesn't sound possible, but like, on paper, it doesn't mean shit. They still got to get in there, man. So what are the chances that Aljamain is going to backpack Henry Cejudo? I'd love to see. Like I said, it sounds pretty damn impossible to me, but TJ Dillashaw was a D1 wrestler. I'm not going to be one to blame it on a shoulder injury, bro. I think, like I said, I'm going to discredit Aljamain's title win all fucking day. Like, you got knocked out and they called you the champ? Yeah, that's bullshit. But I'm not going to be one to discredit his TJ win, because as far as I'm concerned, TJ Dillashaw and Aljamain Sterling got into a fight, and Aljamain Sterling mopped the floor with TJ Dillashaw. So I'm not going to discredit that. The ones I'm going to discredit are the 2 Peter Yan fights, because like I said, the first fight, you got knocked out. The second fight comes down to how you score the first round. 2nd and 3rd rounds, clearly Aljamain. 4th and 5th, clearly Peter. How do you score the first? Well, I was live in attendance in Jacksonville for that fight, and live, like when it went to the scorecards, I thought without a shadow of a doubt that Peter won that fight 3-2. Now, when I went back and watched it again, then I was like, okay, I could see how Aljo got it, but it just wasn't emphatic enough. Like, when a champ is like slowing down badly in the championship rounds, it's just not a good look. And it's something that, someone of the competitive status of Henry Cejudo can absolutely capitalize on, man. So again, it comes down to me, like, show me what Cejudo looks like on Friday on the scales. Like I said, if this is just for a quick little cash grab, which seems uncharacteristic of a guy like Cejudo to do, because he's got money, he's good to go. If he comes in here with love handles, he's fat, you didn't take it seriously, okay, then we can change the pick to Aljamain. But if this is the real Triple C, I'm talking like if he's cocked, shredded, you can tell he put in the work. Then I think Aljamain's in deep shit. So just comes down to what we're getting from Cejudo, because we all of us know what we're getting from Aljamain. We're getting crazy volume. We're getting crazy athleticism. If he can take the back, he's super dangerous there. So we know what to expect from Aljo. We don't know what to expect from Cejudo. But like I said, bro, if this was Cejudo 6 months removed from the Cruz fight and you give me plus 100, it's a no-brainer. But it's not. It's 3 years removed. So show me where you rank amongst the GOATs. Like your whole team's calling you the greatest combat sports athlete of all time, calling you the GOAT. And I'm not saying that you can't be there one day, but I'm just saying, like, to get past the John Jones, the GSP, and Anderson, you need a little bit more. Coming back off a 3-year layoff and dethroning Aljo, that would be a huge step in the right direction. So my pick is Henry Cejudo here. It's just, again, I reserve the right to change this pick if on Friday on the scales, Henry, if he's if he's been hitting up the pizza shop, if he's been, eating that stuffed crust, extra Parmesan, like if that's the case, then you got to go Sterling. But you'll be able to see right away Friday on the scales if Henry's been taking this seriously or not. And if he has, then I'm going with the better fighter here, and that's Henry Cejudo. So Henry Cejudo will be my pick. Here we go. Co-main event of the evening in the welterweight division. Man, I am so excited to see this fight. So we got Belal, remember the name, Muhammad. He's 22-3, taking on Gilbert Durinho Burns, who's 22-5. Currently, they got it. Gilbert Durinho Burns minus 125. The comeback on Belal, remember the name, Muhammad, is plus 105. Longtime listeners of Half the Battle know exactly what side I'm on in this fight. But before I talk about my bet and all that, I'm not going to just sit here and disrespect someone on the caliber of Gilbert Burns. Like, Gilbert is ridiculous, man. Like, this is a dude who is a world champion in no-gi jiu-jitsu, which, like, that will translate to MMA really well, as you all have seen watching his career, right? And he's got some insane power, man. Like, so I was watching that fight between Gilbert and Jorge recently, right? And people were saying that was a shitty performance from Gilbert Burns. Like, bro, I disagree. I do not think that was a shitty performance by Gilbert Burns at all. Like, maybe the strike count was a little bit low for, like, our liking, like, in terms of, like, if we like these guys that come out here and put up big volume, okay, maybe the volume wasn't necessarily where I like it to be, only 42 significant strikes. But let me tell y'all something. Some of these shots he was landing on Jorge Masvidal, I was shocked. I was shocked that Masvidal didn't get knocked out. Because, like, man, those fucking overhand rights, those left hooks, those uppercuts that he was hitting Masvidal with, I was like, damn, what's Masvidal's chin made out of? Because, like, those same shots wobbled Kamaru Usman. Those same shots dropped Khamzat Chimaev. Those same shots have knocked out a plethora of people, whether it was at 55s or at 70. Gilbert Durinho is a KO threat. Obviously a huge submission threat too, but I'm just saying on the feet, because as you'll probably know who I'm picking in this fight, and we'll get to that in a second. So what are my concerns here? I'm not as worried about Gilbert taking Belal down. Don't get me wrong. Gilbert takes the back of Belal or something, yeah, then I'd be like, fuck. But, like, what I'm worried about most as someone on Belal here is that, Gilbert kind of chopping him down with those calf kicks. Like, for example, if y'all watched the Luque fight that Belal had, the second one, Gilbert was in the corner of Luque, and one of the big pieces of advice he kept telling Luque was, keep chopping down that calf, keep chopping down that calf. So I know for a fact, if that's the advice he was giving his teammate, I'm pretty fucking sure that Gilbert is going to try to implement that same strategy, one that even Diego Lima had a little bit of success with. So I expect Gilbert Durinho's plan to come out here, try to chop down the calf kicks, chop down the legs with the calf kicks, and then try to set him up with something big over the top. try to set up that overhand, try to set up that left hook, try to time an entry to a takedown and intercept it with an uppercut, with a knee, whatever. I think Gilbert Burns is going to try to knock out Belal Muhammad. And that's my biggest concern. So on the Belal side, because we know what Gil brings to the table, insane jiu-jitsu and one-punch knockout power. He's been maturing. He's been, paying his dues like crazy. He's in his peak form. This is the final version of Gilbert Durinho, and he's a pretty damn good final version, especially if you go back to some of his fights at 55s where his striking defense was not the best at all. I feel like he's been tightening some things up, man. So I love what I'm seeing from Burns, but Belal is my guy. And y'all that call Belal boring, I'd wager my whole bankroll that y'all just call him that because y'all lose money on him every single fight. Y'all underestimate him habitually. Y'all don't show him the respect he deserves. Like I said, a boring fighter is John Fitch. A boring fighter is Jake Shields. Belal's not boring. You're just a fucking hater that loses money every single time he fights. That's all it is. Because look at this. When we talk about Belal Muhammad's last 4 fights, right? Every single time has been a different approach. Against Damian Maia, he goes out there, he stuffs 21 takedowns, he wrestles in reverse. Against Wonderboy Thompson, he lands 7 takedowns, and he almost gets a first-round stoppage with ground and pound. Had it been a different ref, you'd be looking at Belal Muhammad having a first-round ground and pound stoppage over Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. In the Luque fight, fights him drastically different than he fought Maia and Thompson. The way he fought Luque, he was very elusive on the outside. He's switching stances a lot. He's firing a devastating body kick. And if y'all want to talk about, does Belal have power? Ask Vicente Luque or any of Vicente Luque's teammates what that Belal Muhammad body kick felt like. Because word on the street is Luque got hurt right away. But knowing the warrior, the poker face, I mean, just the silent assassin that Luque is, he was able to hide it a little bit, but he got dominated that fight. Next fight against Brady, fights drastically different against Brady than he did against Luque. Against Luque, like I said, circling on the outside, kind of elusive, switching stances, timing that body kick, timing that blast double. With Sean Brady, he literally walked Sean Brady down and said, look, we're going to draw a line in the stand. We're going to draw a line in the sand, and we're going to stand and bang until one man falls. And I am so pissed off at the ref in that fight for stopping it when he did. Now, don't get me wrong. I don't think it was an early stoppage at all. I thought that Sean Brady got his shit pushed in. But the reason I'm mad at that ref is because the ref robbed Belal Muhammad of a highlight reel knockout, just like the ref in the Stephen Wonderboy fight robbed Belal Muhammad of a first-round stoppage. And the whole, Belal's boring. I lose money on him every fight. Like, that whole bullshit. Like, yeah, that's because the ref robbed him of a first-round stoppage against Wonderboy. And then against Brady, they robbed him of a highlight reel stoppage. It was a good stoppage, but, like, let Brady go down so Belal can finally get his fucking highlight, man. Like, goddamn. So I was kind of bummed about that. I mean, don't get me wrong. I wasn't bummed about cashing that ticket, that plus 115 ticket, but I was just like, man, like, come on, dude. And Brett said, besides the racism, I really like Belal. Bro, stop with that bullshit. What he said, because Colby's white, like, y'all think he was serious? Belal's a jokester. Belal trains with all kinds of people from all kinds of races. Belal is not racist. Don't spread bullshit narratives. But back to this, man. So now let's talk about my history betting Belal, because I got it written down. So check this out. So when sometimes y'all find your money trends where, like, you just bet someone every single fight because, like, when I say this, you got to listen to what I'm saying closely, because it might sound like, oh, you're just a fan of his, so of course you bet him every single fight. But it's like, no, he's like a good price every single fight. There's value on him every single fight. It was dog odds against Wonderboy. It was plus 160 against Luque. It was plus 115 against Brady. I got plus 125 against Burns. So it's not like I'm out here like, oh, I have to bet him every fight, so now I'm going to go lay minus 500 where there's no value. No. You get value on this guy every fucking fight. So I've bet on Belal, I believe, in 11 of his fights. I'm 10-1 on Belal Muhammad fights, for plus 15.99 units and a roughly 61% ROI. So what I'm trying to say here is, like, when you have numbers like that betting also, if y'all had 16 unit profits and a 60 something percent ROI betting this guy, you would not think he's boring. People think he's boring because because they lose on him every single fucking fight. And that's just the bottom line, because there's nothing boring about this guy. He comes in with a different game plan every time. He's smart. He's thoughtful. He's intelligent. So how do they match up? I mean, listen, what I want to know is what game plan Belal's coming in here with, because like I said, every single time you see Belal, it's a different game plan. So I don't know if he's going to approach him like he approached Brady, go right after him. I don't know if he's going to be elusive like he was against Luque. But what I do know is I think the path to victory for Burns has to badly compromise Belal. He has to drop him. He has to wobble him. He has to knock him out to win this fight. Because historically speaking, when guys beat Belal Muhammad, they hurt Belal Muhammad. Like, no one's out here outworking Belal. No one's out here out hustling. Like, I'll tell you all this. Let's assume Burns does not get like this early finish or something like that. And let's assume this fight goes on to the third, the fourth, the fifth rounds. It gets extended. When y'all look at that box score, I mean, you're going to see that the strikes landed by Belal, I mean, I think he might even double up Gilbert on strikes. I think his pace is tremendously different. His output is different than Gilbert Burns. But I think Gilbert has a bit of a power edge. So that's what I'm most worried about. And that's what I'm always worried about when I bet on Belal. I'm not worried about Belal getting out hustled. I'm not worried about someone breaking his will. Like, you're not going to break, you can't break a guy like Belal. He's too mentally strong. So to beat Belal, you must hurt Belal. You must compromise Belal. And Gil does have the ability to do that. So I'm not discounting Gil's possibilities, but back to my point, man. I mean, this is Belal's chance. Like, they're not giving him any easy fights. He's had to go through everybody to finally get this number one contender fight against Gil Burns. You're giving me dog money again against the guy who I think will thrive in 5-round fights. So I know my sphincter is going to be puckered these first few exchanges, but I think that once Belal kind of starts to get the timing of Gilbert Burns, assuming he hasn't been badly compromised or even stopped early, I think he's going to take over this fight. And don't be surprised when this hits the third round and you see Belal shoot a takedown on Burns, on the no-gi world champion, and hangs out in his guard, no problem, something that Hamzat wasn't willing to do. And don't be surprised when Belal Muhammad starts to double up Gilbert Burns on strikes. And don't be surprised if Belal possibly gets a late stoppage, 4th or 5th round. So again, it's contingent on a lot of things, just like most fights are, right? But at the end of the day, give me the guy that's built for 5 rounds. Give me my money train. We're riding this train until the wheels fall off, bottom line. And we're getting dog odds once again. It's a no-brainer for me. So 3 units, Belal Muhammad, plus 125. Let's go out there and secure this title shot, kid. So Belal Muhammad is my pick. And I hope y'all heard how much respect I have for Burns, because he's someone I would never disrespect. Now, featured bout in the strawweight division, we got Jessica Andrade. She's 24-10, taking on Yan Xiaonan, who is 16-3. And currently, they got it. Jessica Andrade minus 200. The comeback on Yan Xiaonan is plus 160. So how like ironic and coincidental is it that like my 2 biggest money trains in the last 5 years are not only fighting on this card, are not only fighting back to back, but are also available at dog odds once again. So let me tell you all about my history betting Yan Xiaonan. Because again, y'all can say, oh, I'm biased, this and that. Yeah, I mean, I am biased. I mean, this is like my money train, but let me just say this. Even if Belal and Xiaonan lose, we're still up lifetime on both. These are system plays. It's a no. You hang up plus 160 on Yan Xiaonan against anybody in that weight class, and it's a no-brainer for me. And y'all might give me this Carla bullshit. I even better there too. But just saying, like, since that fight, she got out her comfort zone. She went to California, trained with Team Alpha Male with Uriah Faber and crew. I mean, she got, like I said, and then since then she went on to survive as a white belt on the mat with Mackenzie Dern. But let me tell you all my history with Yan Xiaonan. So check this out. I've bet on Yan Xiaonan in every single one of her UFC fights, right? So I'm 7-2, just like Yan Xiaonan is 7-2, for plus 13 units and a 37% ROI. So why the hell would I not go back to the well here when you're hanging a plus 160 in front of me? Like, look, we're going to show Jessica her respect here in a second, but I love Yan Xiaonan, man. I mean, even in her debut, when she fought Kylan Curran, someone who ended up going like 1-6 or 1-7 in the UFC, Yan Xiaonan was minus 130 against Kylan Curran, and I max bet her. And then watching her regional fights prior to that, she was sidekicking these chicks in the face, and it was like, damn, this is a chick that might be a force to be reckoned with one day. And here we go. She became one. So, you know, and it's like the same way I felt with like Jamal Hill when he first came to the UFC. Like, just certain fighters catch my attention, and you jump on that money train, and they keep getting disrespected. So we go from Kylan Curran, who is a joke, to you make it past the Claudia Gadelias, the Carolinas. You get a couple roadblocks along the way, you know, with Carla. She got badly exposed there. Then she goes in there against Marina. As far as I'm concerned, she bounced back against Marina. It was plus 250. Give me plus 250 on Yan Xiaonan against Marina any day of the week. Like, I wasn't even mad that I got robbed on that one. I was like, dude, I made a great bet. I'd make that bet 10 times out of 10. So Mackenzie fight, that's where I was really happy. So I got that plus 235 on her there. And like, Yan Xiaonan was a white belt at the time. And y'all remember against Carla, she couldn't get back up. She couldn't survive anything. She got smashed. So from the work she put in from the Carla fight to get to the Mackenzie fight, Mackenzie is a black belt, like, what, world champion, or just a really well-respected black belt. You know, she comes from a family of black belts. I mean, her dad is fucking Megatron Diaz. You know what I'm saying, bro? Or a Megaton, you know, whatever they like to. Yeah, y'all know what I'm talking about. But she goes in there against Xiaonan, against Mackenzie Dern as a white belt, and survives every single submission attempt, every single bad spot. Doesn't lose, you know, her cardio, doesn't lose her composure, goes out there and does exactly what she needs to do to win the decision. So if you can survive on the mat with Mackenzie Dern as a white belt, that has to increase your confidence to that next level. And as a result, she got promoted to blue belt. So Yan Xiaonan, I love seeing it, chick. I love seeing it, my girl. You went from fucking getting smashed against Carla to, you know, you put your ego aside, you moved to California with Uriah Faber, and now you're out here as a white belt surviving on the mat with Mackenzie Dern. Well-deserved promotion to blue belt. So I love to see it. So now going into this fight with Bata Estaca, Jessica Andrade, I mean, what can I say about Andrade? This is a young lady that she puts the fear in her opponents. Reason being is that the girls that fight her, they've never been hit the way that Jessica Andrade hits people. It's almost like a dude is hitting you. And I say that with all due respect, of course. And I even remember back when I went to UFC 199, the night that Bisping knocked out Rockhold, a lot of great fights on that card. And I saw a fight there between Jessica Andrade and Joanne Calderwood. And Joanne Calderwood kind of, you know, has kind of that, you know, the long striker prototype. And you should have seen the face of Calderwood when she started getting hit by those shots. The striker was like, yo, fuck this, man. And even like Rose Namajunas. But let me give Rose credit, because we're giving examples of kind of longer strikers, which is what Yan is going to be in this case. Rose was popping the head back of Jessica Andrade, both the fights. Now, the first fight, she ends up getting slammed on her head. Reason being, they were in a situation where they were pinned up against the fence, and you start to go for standing Kimuras, and that high crotch takedown is there all day. I mean, y'all that saw that Rory McDonald versus Nate Diaz fight where Rory McDonald hit like 3 suplexes on Nate Diaz. Reason being, Nate Diaz kept going for that standing Kimura. And that's exactly what Rose Namajunas did against Jessica Andrade the first time. She got pinned up against the fence, decided to go for the standing Kimura, and as a result, she got slammed on her head. But prior to that, she was popping the head back of Andrade big time. You go back to this last fight against Blanchfield, where I actually bet Blanchfield at the exact same odds as I'm betting Yan Xiaonan. And Blanchfield, let's not even talk about the submission, because I mean, look, Blanchfield is a black belt. Yan Xiaonan is a blue belt. So obviously, Yan Xiaonan does not have the grappling credentials of Aaron Blanchfield. Like, no shit, no questions asked, right? But one thing that Aaron Blanchfield did in that fight so nicely that I think is going to really aid Yan Xiaonan is Aaron Blanchfield was tagging up Jessica Andrade with straight punches. She was popping that head back over and over. And Jessica Aaron Blanchfield isn't quite as comfortable as a striker yet. She's kind of still, honing her craft. She's great on the mat, but she's kind of still figuring out the stand-up part of things. And she was having great success with those straight punches. Now we get the lifelong striker, who I know is going to be popping that head back at Jessica Andrade. She's going to be lighting her up. She's going to be circling on the outside, some good footwork, some great counters. So my biggest concern here is that, Jessica does hit different. So I'd love to see how Yan Xiaonan responds to getting cracked by these shots. My opinion is that she's tough enough to take it. I mean, she's a mean bitch. And when I say that, I mean it like a compliment. You know what I'm saying? I guess what I'm most worried about is sometimes as fights progress, the pressure of Jessica Andrade tends to get to these girls. So I'm worried about, late second round and then the third round, maybe Bata Estaca Andrade can take over. But honestly, man, I think that Yan Xiaonan is going to come out here, tag her up, man. Straight punches, the jab, the cross, the side kick to the face. She's got a beautiful side kick to the face. Go out there, give me 2 of these rounds. If we stop her, we stop her. I'd love that, kind of like Wiley stopped her. I'd love a stoppage, because I've been saying one of these days, Yan Xiaonan is going to knock someone out with a side kick to the face. So I'm down to see, I'm down, and this is the first time, but I'm not banking on it. Andrade is super durable, super experienced, and her pressure gets the people dropping to straw weight again here. But you hang a plus 160 on Yan Xiaonan against anyone in the weight class. And before someone says Tatiana is up at flyweight, so don't even try me on that bullshit. You hang a plus 160 on Yan Xiaonan against anyone in the weight class, and it's a system play, just like Belal at Dog Money. I have to do it. So I got 3 units on Yan Xiaonan at plus 160, 3 units on Belal at plus 125. Need one of them to win. One of them wins because both are dogs. My money management's on point. Profitable evening. Both of them win. It's red panty night. It's red panty night. Both of them lose. Let's not talk about it. But I believe in these reads. One of these is going to get it done, if not both. So let's fucking get it, man. 3 units. Yan Xiaonan plus 160. Let's go. Now, next up in the featherweight division, we got a matchup between Movsar Evloev. He's 16-0. That's pretty fucking hard to do in MMA. Taking on Diego Lopes, who's 21-5. Currently, they got it. Have odds been released on this fight yet? It doesn't look like it, but I'm assuming what, minus 700 Evloev or something like that. Yeah, no odds yet, but listen, Evloev's going to be a big favorite here, and rightfully so. Evloev's got so many great qualities about him. He's a guy that can go out there and attempt and complete a ridiculous amount of takedowns, not get discouraged. But don't sleep on his stand-up either, man. Like, he's a dude that, he's very calculated on the feet, doesn't take any unnecessary risks, maybe a little Russian coast in there, but, he's a winner. Now, have there been some cause for concerns in certain spots? Yes. Like, for example, the Grundy fight. He was in a fucking tight ass Darce choke. And so I guess the negative is that he was in that situation, but the positive was, bro, did y'all see the defense that that Evloev showed to escape that Darce choke? Like, just the littlest of space he was able to get out of there. I was like, God damn, this kid, just got the skills. He's got that dog too. You know what I'm saying? And then the Nick Lentz fight, right? Like, he was like minus 600 and it was a split decision. Now, while I personally thought it was a clear win for Evloev, there were still spots where like he was in a deep guillotine. Now, granted, Nick Lentz has one of the best guillotines in the history of that weight class, but still, he's been caught in some weird spots from time to time. The third round against Hakeem Dawodu, after absolutely mopping the floor with Dawodu, third round, he's starting to fatigue, starting to get tagged up a little bit. The only reason I'm talking in these terms is because it's going to be like minus 700, minus 750, maybe even minus 1,000. So, you just have to understand that, like, Evloev, he's been dominantly and decisively winning, but he's lost rounds in certain fights. So you just got to bring that up. As far as his opponent, Diego Lopes, I mean, listen, I'm a fan. He's a solid jiu-jitsu guy. He's beat champions outside of the UFC, like Marco Psycho Beltran, I forget if he's the Lux fighting champ or the Aries fighting champ, but Marco Psycho Beltran was the guy that beat Chito Vera in both of their UFC debuts. I know, a long ass time ago, but just saying, like, he's beat some pretty decent guys, some UFC vets. He's got arm bars, he's got knee bars. He's actually a competitive grappler himself, so he's got some good shit going for him. I like him. He's tall, long for the weight class. So yeah, I mean, I think that Diego Lopes, and for y'all that don't know, he was the guy that fought Joe Anderson Brito on Contender Series. Like, I think that Diego Lopes can probably survive to the decision. So, I mean, if they disrespect, like, if they think this is a under 1.5 situation, not saying it won't be, but I'm just saying if they think it's that and like the over 1.5 is dog money, maybe take a look, because while I don't think Diego's going to win, I think he's got a good chance to survive these 3 rounds. So I'm going to go Movsar Evloev, unanimous decision. Now, kicking off the main card in the featherweight division, we got Kron Gracie, 5-1, taking on Charles Jourdain, who's 13-6. Currently, they got it. Charles Jourdain minus 175. The comeback on Kron Gracie plus 150. I mean, listen, man. Kron Gracie, obviously a very well respected name in the jiu-jitsu community, and a guy that, didn't he like tap out Gary Tonin and just do a bunch of other crazy shit in jiu-jitsu? Even had like a great match with Benny. When Benny fought him or grappled him, Benny made a name for himself that night. But so the whole thing is like, well, we know without a shadow of a doubt that Jourdain should be the better striker here. It's just that Jourdain, like in that Lando fight, he threw a kick and then he fell. Like, Charles Jourdain is not that hard to take him down. He might also, like I said, throw a kick and slip, like something like that. It could only take one back take from Kron Gracie. But let me just say this. The reason that I'm not in a rush to bet Gracie, and I know some respected opinion that some people that I personally respect went in there on Gracie. My issue with Gracie in MMA is that he doesn't quite have that urgency for the takedown, right? Like in his 2 UFC fights, he only attempted 2 takedowns in both those fights. And you watch the Cub Swanson fight, which was an all-out war, and Kron only attempted 2 half-hearted takedowns, and then he was like, all right, I'm down to bang. So, like, yeah, I respect the balls. Like, this dude is a true fighter. You know what I'm saying? So you got to give him credit. The guy's got balls, and most likely he's going to come out here and try to stand and bang with Charles Jourdain. And that's what I think is going to be his downfall. It's just the reason that I'm not, champing at the bit to lay minus 190, minus 175 is because I'm very well aware one back take, one slip, the guy gets the full mount. That could not only be the round, that could be the fight, right? So that's the thing to worry about. But the reason I'm picking Jourdain is I don't think the urgency of Gracie for those takedowns is quite there. I think he's a guy with a huge ego. I think he's a flat earther, and I think he's going to want to come out here and stand and bang with Charles Jourdain when he gets tagged up a little bit. I think he'll shoot some half-hearted takedowns. Hopefully, Jourdain can stuff those, because if he can, I think he's going to light this dude up. So give me Charles Jourdain for the win. Now, next up in the lightweight division, we got a matchup between Drew Dober, he's 26-11, taking on Matt Frevola, who is 10-3. Currently, they got it. Drew Dober minus 210. The comeback on Matt Frevola is plus 180. So, I mean, come on, man. I'm such a fan of both these guys. Drew Dober, I mean, him and Dustin Poirier are tied for the most knockouts in UFC lightweight history. Now, Dustin's got more knockouts because he was knocking dudes out at featherweight prior, but just saying in the lightweight division, Dober and Frevola are tied. And Dober's making a lot of leaps, man. I mean, like, I feel like his get up game's gone a lot better. His takedown defense is starting to patch up. Might not be on the caliber of his striking, but he's definitely just a legit top 15, top 20 guy, period. And Matt Frevola, another guy. How can you not love Matt Frevola? Like, even in that UFC debut where he got knocked out like in like 60 seconds against Marco Polo Reyes, who tested positive for Mexican steroids. Like, dude, Matt Frevola goes for it. Matt Frevola is gonna bite down on his mouthpiece, and he's gonna he's gonna paint that line in the sand. He's gonna go toe to toe with you until someone falls. Also, has got a wrestling background, been dropped his fair share of times, and has dropped people his fair share of times. So don't sleep on the power of Frevola. And also, dude just seems like a great guy. I love his personality on Twitter. His brother interacts with us a lot. So yeah, how can I not just like, I got nothing bad to say about Matt Frevola or his camp. All respect to them. Super cool guys. Love the fighting style. I just think that more often than not, Drew Dober probably somewhere along the way catches Matt Frevola, man. Like I said, I think both of them are going to stand, and I don't discount the possibility of Frevola landing some hard shots on Dober too. But while I don't think that Frivola's chin is as bad as some may say, I think that Dober's durability is significantly better. But that's not to say the perfect shot can't put him out. But just saying, more often than not, I think Dober gets by this one with his power shots. And if he's able to also stuff takedowns or get back up from bottom and then just get right back down to business, you know, I got to go with Drew Dober on this one. I just think he's slightly ahead of Frevola, but you can't count out Frevola. I mean, he's a guy, like I said, he's been paying his dues. He's a guy that I could see him in the top 15 one day. Just has to keep working, keep that nose to the grindstone. But yeah, nothing bad to say about him. I just think Dober beats him, period. So for that reason, I'm going Dober, no bet. Next up in the 205-pound division, y'all do me a huge favor. We're reaching the hour mark. Smash that like button for me. And if you're not subscribed, please do me a huge favor and subscribe. And then once this is over, leave me a comment. All those things help out their, I don't want to diss the algorithm or any shit, but like, yeah, certain things I don't understand, but y'all help me out. That share, that comment, whatever, that like, that subscribe, it goes a long way. So thank you very much. Next up in the 205-pound division, we got Devin Clark. He's 14-7, taking on Kennedy Nzechukwu, who was 11-3. Currently, they got it Kennedy Nzechukwu -180. The comeback on Devin Clark is +155. So some action has come in on Devin Clark, and I got to be honest, maybe y'all should kind of like discount what I say about this fight, because I've always been historically super low on Devin Clark. I've been disrespectful towards Devin Clark. And the reason, and even when I say that, he is a 500 fighter, so I've at least been right 50% of the time, right? Picking against him almost every fight. But I mean, what Devin Clark brings to the table is, he can push you up against the fence. He can mix in some takedowns. He can kind of slow down the pace of the fight. On the feet, he's kind of spastic, runs in with his chin straight up in the air, kind of like Derek Brunson style, just not as good as Derek Brunson. So if like you're not quite on the UFC level, you haven't paid your dues, Devin Clark can definitely expose you. But let me say something else, man. I heard people talking about how Devin Clark's last fight against Dawoon Jung was like this breakout performance and he looked great and this and that. Like, bro, he landed under 40 strikes in that 3-round fight, and his opponent Dawoon Jung landed under 20 strikes in a 3-round fight. Like that's his breakthrough. Like that, like stop it. Those numbers are bad. And then with Kennedy, I mean, y'all know about the physical attributes. He's been getting more comfortable inside the octagon as far as I'm concerned. The only issue with Kennedy is he's kind of a slow starter. He kind of likes to maybe, I don't know if it's necessarily take rounds off or kind of ease into the fight or kind of see like what you're bringing to the table, make his reads, and then, go from there. But what I do know is this, or what I think is this. I think the early going of that fight, Devin Clark's going to push him up against the fence, maybe get a takedown or two, and it's going to look like, oh, wow, like maybe Devin's turning a corner. Maybe Devin's doing all these things. Come late first round, come second round, come third round, that's when you're going to see whether it's a long man choke, a Darce, a guillotine, an anaconda, whether it's a big knee, whether it's an uppercut, a left hook, a right hand, whatever the case may be. I think that Kennedy's going to catch Devin Clark somewhere along the way. So, you know, like I said, he's a slow starter. So Devin is going to have moments in this fight for sure. I just think the longer this fight progresses, man, Kennedy is going to find his opportunities to finish this fight. Not to mention this gym, you know, who was coached by Saif Saud, the general, a guy we all hold in super high regard, a guy that when he speaks, we listen. Saif Saud coached against Devin Clark before when Alonzo Menafield used to be at Fortis MMA. Like, y'all, what's up with Alonzo Menafield's life decisions? You go from Coach Saif Saud, like the general, the guy we all respect so much, to now you're training with that fucking weirdo Pat Barry, you know, the groomer Pat Barry. You know what I'm saying, bro? I'm like, damn, interesting life decision. But back to this, man. I think that they're gonna come out here with the right game plan. I think somewhere along the way, Kennedy's gonna find that shot, that guillotine, that whatever it may be. I think he's gonna get Devin Clark out of there, and for that reason, I'm picking him. Now, next up in the welterweight division, we got a matchup between Khaos, the Ox Fighter Williams. He's 13-3, taking on Rolando Bedoya, who's 14-1. Currently, they got it Khaos Williams minus 300. The comeback on Rolando Bedoya is plus 250. Y'all know what Khaos brings to the table. Super exciting, big one-punch knockout power. Also, the kind of guy where, like, if you crack him with your hardest shot, you're probably going to break your hand before you rock him. And he's a very physical guy, like I said, can land some takedowns. And at this point, a pretty damn seasoned and experienced UFC vet. I love this kid, Rolando Bedoya. I mean, as a fan, how can you not love him? I mean, the guy brings it every single time. He's kill or be killed. He trains how to shoot the box. So that means he's in there with Charles Oliveira, with Alan Nascimento, with Daniel Willie Catch Santos, who's also fighting on this card. So he's in there with the right guys. It's just the issue with Rolando Bedoya is he's in the wrong weight class. I mean, this guy's a 55er fighting at 70. And look, Rolando, I got to give you credit, bro. To be a 55er and fighting at 70 your entire career, and you make it to the UFC in the wrong weight class, like, hey, kid, you've been handling your opponents accordingly. You've been finishing fights. You've been doing your thing. So you love to see it. And the guy, like I said, the guy will go for broke. He's exciting. He's going to throw some flashy techniques. And he's, like I said, kill or be killed. But unfortunately, in this spot, I think it's be killed. But let me just say this. Khaos is going to win this fight most likely. But after this, like, let me see Rolando get on that, you know, UFC PI nutrition diet. And let's see you drop to 55, man. Because, like, I love the enthusiasm. I love the balls. I love the finishing instinct. I like this kid. I'm a fan. He's just in the wrong weight class here. This is a huge step up in competition. So probably going to take a L here, but please drop to 55 your next fight, Rolando. I'm going Khaos Williams. Now, next up in the strawweight division, we got Marina Rodriguez. She's 16-2-2, taking on Virna Jandiroba, who's 18-3. And currently, they got it Marina Rodriguez minus 140. The comeback on Virna Jandiroba is plus 115. Just a little housekeeping note. Marina opened minus 275. So lots of actions coming on Virna. And I don't blame people. I mean, like, so kind of the way I see this fight is that, so Marina has been taken down in 9 of her 11 UFC fights. And she's extremely tough, right? Like, she survived on the mat with Mackenzie Dern, and she tends to survive. The only issue is that surviving is not enough to win fights, right? Like, you get taken down and you're surviving. A credit to you that you're not getting submitted by these amazing black belts. So I love to see that because jiu-jitsu is all about surviving. But to win, I need get-ups. I need urgency. And I used to bet on Marina in a lot of fights. And like a lot of those fights should have gone my way, like the Randa Marcos fight, the Cynthia Calvillo fight, and the exact same thing happened in both those fights. First two rounds, Marina Rodriguez is putting on a striking clinic. Third round, she gets taken down. She just can't get up, and she gets 10-8'd in both those fights. And that's why it was a draw. And like, so as far as the 10-8 is concerned, it sucks if you're betting on her, but you got to give her credit. She's not getting finished. She's tough as hell. It's just that here against Virna might only need 2 takedowns. And when I say that, that's assuming a submission doesn't happen, right? What I'm saying is 1 takedown in round 1, hold her down the duration of the round. 1 takedown in round 2, hold her down the duration of the round, survive round 3, you win. But my issue I've had with Virna is that she comes out super hard that first round, which I love, but she tends to really slow down as fights progress. Marina Rodriguez is not someone you want to slow down against as fights unfold. So now my question is, what kind of success is Virna having on the mat here? Are we talking about taking her down and insta subbing her? Are we talking about taking her down and holding her down for the duration of the fight? I mean, the duration of those rounds? Or are we talking about a dominant first round by Virna and then Marina takes over in the second and third round? So many possible outcomes that I don't know. It makes it seem like a dogger pass, but I think if Marina can survive this first round, that the takedowns are going to be kind of tougher to get for Virna, and that's where Marina can just get up on strikes and kind of outpoint her and get those second and third rounds, but not confident. This is a very interesting stylistic matchup. And may the best woman win. I'm a lean Marina, but can I fault y'all for taking Virna when this chick Marina got taken down 9 of her 11 fights and tends to not get back up from bottom when she does get taken down. So no, I cannot blame y'all. But I'm a lean Marina, rough first round, second and third, kind of out volume her a bit. Now, next up in the heavyweight division, we got Parker Porter. He's 13-8. He's welcoming Tony Braxton, who's 5-1 to the UFC. Currently, they got it Parker Porter minus 160. The comeback on Braxton Smith is plus 130. Man, like when I found out Tony Braxton was making the UFC debut, it just brought back those memories from childhood. And look, all bullshit aside, I mean, Braxton Smith, I mean, he can knock people out. He's explosive. He's a big heavyweight. Dana always says we need heavyweights. It's just that, like, dude, like none of these fights have gotten past, only one fight got past the 2-minute mark, and it was 2 minutes and 3 seconds against a guy in Edison Lopes who's 11-8 and has been knocked out a ridiculous amount of times. So look, I'm not discrediting your wins. You got in there with those cans and you handled those cans accordingly. It's just that now you're finally fighting a seasoned vet, a guy who Parker Porter was fighting John Jones on his regional scene. Parker Porter knows what it means to have 3 UFC wins as well. So Parker Porter is the more experienced guy, the more savvy guy. It's just that there's absolutely a chance that Parker Porter gets starched. I mean, Braxton starched all of his opponents. Parker's been starched on multiple occasions. So, of course, you can't write off that possibility. The thing is, like, what happens when Braxton Smith gets past the 3-minute mark? What happens when Braxton Smith is on his back? What happened when Braxton Smith is finally fighting a guy with a winning record who, like, is experienced and isn't like these bums you've been fighting on the regional scene? What happens when Braxton gets under the bright lights for the first time? Like, knocking these cans you've been knocking out is not the same as knocking people out in the UFC. So, yeah, Braxton, KO or bust. I'm not in the business of laying chalk on Porter, but I think Porter, I think he's too seasoned, too well-rounded, too experienced. Give him a vet lesson if you don't get caught early. So I'm gonna go Parker Porter. Now, oh yeah, and D's brought up a good point. Leg kicks. Leg kicks. Parker's got some heavy leg kicks. So let's get that going too. Next up in the middleweight division, we got a match between Ikram Aliskerov, he's 13-1, taking on Phil Hawes, who's 12-4. Currently, they got it. Ikram minus 200. The comeback on Phil Hawes is plus 165. This is an interesting fight because Phil Hawes literally has everything I want in a fighter except the chin. D1 wrestling, one punch knockout power, freak athlete. Like, hey, like, dude, if Phil Hawes had a chin, like, oh my God, like he could be a top 10 guy, but not having a chin in a sport like this, it's just so detrimental. And it's so unfortunate because of how skilled Phil Hawes is. Like, I think Phil Hawes is better than Ikram, straight up. It's just that because think about this. Ikram, his path to victories in most fights, he's taking these guys down, he's submitting them, he's doing all these things. I don't, man, if he can come out here and submit Phil Hawes, like, hey, because I saw Phil Hawes escape some nasty shit his last fight. But that being said, not only did he tear his fucking knee, also got knocked out. Like, how many more of these knockouts like can you take? But like Ikram's normal plan is like out grappling these guys. And if he can out grapple a D1 wrestler, hey, tip my cap, you know, raise my glass, give you all the credit and deserve. I just don't see that happening. But what I think there's a chance of happening is it's this competitive fight. And like, will y'all be surprised if Phil gets wobbled by a jab? Like, I know Ikram's not known for his power, but Phil ain't known for his chin. So it sucks because like I actually really think Phil is the better fighter here. And I understand why people came in on the dog odds. It's just when Phil's dominating this fight and then some random shot puts him out, you got no one to blame but yourself. So I'm gonna pick the Russian, but I'm not betting him because his opponent's better. It's just his opponent has no chin. So it's one we'll sit back, we'll watch. Let's see what kind of prospect Ikram really is, and let's see what Phil Hawes has left. That's where I'm at with that one. Now, next up in the flyweight division, we got a matchup between Zhalgas Zhumagulov. He's 14-8, taking on Rafael Estevam, who is 11-0. Currently, they got it. Rafael Estevam minus 200. The comeback on Zhalgas Zhumagulov is plus 160. Listen, man, I'm a fan of Zhalgas, man. I mean, like, he trained with my buddy Cody Durden. Cody had nothing but nice things to say. And then my boy Zhalgas has like what 6 or 7 wives, so you know that's something we can all aspire to have. So like, just man to man, like, bro, like, you got my respect. Like you're a real one, Zhalgas. I fuck with you hard, but like, the thing about it is, man, Zhalgas, he's too small. He's too small. He's tiny. I mean, the guy's 5'4" with a 66-inch reach. It's like when my nephew comes over and he wants to play fight with me, you know, I just post my hand out on his head and then he's swinging and missing the whole time. And then afterwards I give him a noogie, you know, we'll do those kind of things, but actually betting Zhalgas in the UFC fight, no. And let me say this too. Oh, what's up, Leo? Got my boy Leo in the house. What's up, my guy? So basically, like, I was the only guy. If y'all go to MMA decisions and y'all type in the Zhalgas versus Jeff Molina fight, and y'all type in the Zhalgas versus Charles Johnson fight, I was literally the only guy that scored both those fights for Molina and for Johnson. And people might think I'm crazy. I don't give a fuck. I stand by that. To quote Deontay Wilder, to this day, you know what I'm saying? And I'll tell y'all why. I'll tell y'all exactly why I stand by that. Reason being, I mean, Molina, like doubled him up on strikes, almost tripled him up on strikes. Like, I thought that was pretty clear. And then the Charles Johnson fight, Charles is Zhumagulov is out here and it looks like he's active, but every single shot he throws is landing on the shoulder, landing off the elbow, swinging at air. Whereas when Charles was landing his shots on Zhalgas getting his head popped back, it's pretty damn evident that Johnson landed the way cleaner strikes on Zhalgas. And I'll take that to the grave, as well as the Molina one. So I don't mind being the only guy on the fence. I don't participate in this group thing bullshit. I felt like I knew what I was watching, and both guys outstruck Zhalgas. Both guys landed cleaner on Zhalgas. Zhalgas looks like he's very active, but like I said, he's swinging at air. He's swinging off shoulder. And then you go back to like his fights prior to the UFC. Like I said about like my little nephew, like the dude's 5'4" with a 66-inch reach. Like, dude gets bullied around every single fight. He's 1-5 in the UFC now. He's retired already. And with Rafael Estevam, look, there's going to come a time to fade him for sure. But one thing he does nicely is he's relentless with his takedown attempts. He's a physical guy. That's a very important point here. A physical guy, because one thing we've seen historically speaking with Zhalgas, he's able to be bullied consistently in his fights. So yeah, I mean, I think that, and also Rafael comes from that Novo and Yao background. So this is a guy that's trained with Jose Aldo, Leo Santos, Barao, Johnny Eduardo for years. So I think he's going to be up to par. I think he's going to be relentless with those takedown attempts. I just kind of think he's going to kind of bully Zhalgas like all these other dudes bully Zhalgas. Zhalgas is too small, but props to you, bro, for being a 5'4" man with a 66-inch reach that has like 6 or 7 wives. Like, bro, like I'd love to go out with him, like, a night out on the town. Like dude's a badass. Much respect to him. But as far as picking him in UFC fights, I just can't do it. I mean, Rafael, we'll assess where he's at, and we'll see what happens moving forward. But for this fight specifically, I think he's going to get it done. Now, next up in the middleweight division, we got a matchup between Joseph Holmes, he's 8-3, taking on Claudio Ribeiro, who is 10-3. Currently, they got it Claudio Ribeiro -175. The comeback on Joseph Holmes is +145. My boy said, "You are short too, bro." Okay, I'm short, but like when the weight class I compete in jiu-jitsu is like 185, bro. So me being short, like 5'8", okay, that's one thing. Zhalgas is like 5'4", fighting at 125. So it's just a different. It's just kind of different, bro. Like no one looks at me like I'm a child. Let's just put it that way. You know what I'm saying? And that's not disrespecting Zhalgas. I'm just saying I don't get bullied around. But back to this fight, man. So Joseph Holmes and Claudio, two guys that are super green. Interestingly enough, because Claudio is a pretty big guy, Joseph's the bigger guy here. So it's 6'4" for Joseph, 6'1" for Claudio, 80-inch reach for Joseph, 77-inch reach for Claudio. So here's my thing with this fight. Joseph Holmes, I've kind of felt like he's kind of too green to be in the UFC. I mean, when you lose to Jamie Pickett, like that's I don't need to say anything else. But with Claudio Ribeiro, he let me down badly in that last fight against Razak. And there's no shame in getting caught by Razak, but what there was a shame in, let's not talk about the knockout sequence in round 2. Let's talk about the end of round 1. In round 1, Razak hit him with something where you just saw all the fight and all the confidence immediately leave from Claudio Ribeiro. And prior to that, Claudio was landing some nice shot. He was popping back Razak's head, landing some big calf kicks. And my impression, the vibes I got from Claudio going into his UFC debut, I thought he was going to be one of those guys, like kind of like a hybrid of like a Johnny Walker and a Michel Pereira, where, he's going to do a dance on the way to the octagon. He's going to do a million backflips, going to have some unorthodox techniques, but gets away with it with ridiculous athleticism. So while I did watch his regional scene and saw that his chin was in the air, I thought that he was kind of like athletic enough to maneuver around. and that wasn't the case, right? And then with Holmes, he's just a very green, unfinished product. But at least I mean, should we say he's been in there with the better competition? Because I don't know, man. I got Razak to beat Jamie Pickett, but Iron Turtle's pretty fucking good, you know. So, but bottom line, I guess I'll lean Claudio, but like after that last stunt, I ain't laying no minus 190, no minus 175. I also would not be surprised if Holmes got it done. So to me, I have no idea. It's a pass. I'll pick Claudio, but let's just sit back and assess exactly where both these guys are at. Preston brought up a good point about the price. Look, it's a dog or pass situation. At these odds, it's dog or pass. So it's about, are you willing to give him a chance or not? Because I mean, Claudio, some of the shit Claudio was doing that last fight was really, really bad. My boy Brett brought up a good point. The judges are Stevie Wonder, Ray Charles, and Derek. And Derek can't see so clearly. So, yeah. Now, last but not least, fuck yeah, this curtain jerker is great. We got Daniel Willie Catchy Santos. He's 10-2, taking on Johnny Munoz Jr., who's 12-2. This is in the bantamweight division. Currently, they got it. Daniel Willie Catchy Santos minus 185. The comeback on Johnny Munoz Jr. is plus 150. So, sorry, we're not doing cocaine. I'm just have a little bit of a runny nose, so don't even try me on some shit. Plus, I don't like uppers. I'm more of a downer guy. You know what I'm saying? Because like I don't even drink coffee or Red Bull or anything. Like, and no disrespect to those that do. I actually love the smell of coffee, and I actually like the process of making it for someone else. But like I'm already amped as it is, so I just like can't do all that shit. It'll like make my heart race like way too fucking much. But back to this. So I bet on Daniel Willie Catch Santos in both his UFC fights. Plus 160 against Arce, plus 175 against Castaneda. 1-for-1. We profited. And he's a guy that's going to fight for your money. And he's a guy with a lot of balls. He's a guy, I respect Daniel Santos so much because let's talk about prior to UFC. He challenged to fight my buddy Robert Hale. And let's put this in context. Daniel Willie Catchy Santos is a bantamweight. My boy Robert Hale is a welterweight. And Daniel Willie Catch Santos was down to fight Robert. So like and it's funny because I think we didn't take that fight because it was like in Russia and we know the kind of stunts they're going to pull. They're going to leave you at the airport. Then you're going to show up. They're going to do everything to fuck up your weight cut. And then they're going to give you a 23-0 Russian at the last minute. And if you decline the fight, they're going to send you home without a paycheck, right? So we were like, yeah, we're not getting into that bullshit. Like, it just seems sketch. They were offering a bantamweight to a welterweight. We're like, yeah, tell us what you're really offering us. They're probably really offering us a 25-0 Russian, right? Yeah, okay, dude. So, but that shows the balls of Daniel. Daniel Willie Catch Santos was willing to fight a welterweight, no issue. So I got to give him a lot of credit. And Daniel Santos is the kind of guy, he's going to walk forward, comes from that shoot the box camp, you know, like I said, with Charles Oliveira, with Alan Nascimento, with even this kid, Rolando Bedoya on the card, and just a bunch of other studs. My boy, what's the name of my boy that was fighting CJ Vergara? Daniel Lacerda. He's in that camp too. So I love that camp, man, especially what they've become lately, man. So Daniel Santos, insane pressure, going to walk you forward, going to walk you down. And he's willing to eat one to give one. He's willing to eat 10 to give one, man. And as long as his chin holds up, the guy has problems. And then on the mat, because the concern is Johnny Munoz has that jiu-jitsu background. And Johnny Munoz is a respectable black belt. And to take it a step further, I feel like Johnny Munoz might be starting to feel more comfortable inside the octagon, feels like he's figuring things out, and he's been getting better. The thing is, if people are concerned about the black belt of Munoz potentially being an issue against Daniel Willie Catchy Santos, the reason that I'm not too concerned is because I've seen footage of Daniel Santos in there with black belts like Alan Nascimento in the gym, and he tapped out Alan Nascimento. Now, granted, the gym and the fight are two different things, but all I'm saying is when you're training with black belts like Du Bronx Oliveira and Alan Nascimento, Puro Oso, like, I mean, is Johnny Munoz going to present you with something you haven't seen from those guys? Probably not. So while I respect the improvements, that Johnny Munoz has been making. I just simply think that the pressure, the will to win, the tenacity, just that fire that Daniel is going to bring to the table is going to be too much. So for that reason, I'm picking him. I mean, the reason I didn't bet him is, look, last 2 times I bet him plus 175. I bet him plus 160. This minus 185 to minus 190. It seems about right. So I don't really feel like I have an edge here, but my pick is going to be Daniel Willie Catchy Santos to win this fight. All right, so I got to talk about the fight to watch. I got to talk about the fighter to watch, and then I'm down to answer any of y'all's questions, read y'all comments. So right now is a good chance for y'all to write some stuff in the chat, and I'll get back to it. And then also for everybody catching the replay, or some of y'all that don't want to participate in the Q&A now, please hit the like button. Please subscribe if you're not already subscribed. And when this is over, leave me a comment. And if you want to be the real MVP, share this, man. Like, let's get the word out, man. Like I said, this platform we built together. This platform is not, no one's endorsing us. No one's giving us any handouts. I built this podcast studio myself. I built this fucking channel myself, and I built all y'all's amazing support by myself. So all the help y'all give me is amazing. We're still going all these years strong. And I feel like we haven't even scratched the surface. There's so many different levels that I'm trying to get to. So all y'all, show me the love y'all have means a lot. So let's talk about the fight to watch and the fighter to watch. So my fight to watch, I mean, y'all know I want to go Belal and Gil. Y'all know I want to go Xiaonan and Andrade, but to give y'all a little something else, I mean, come on, man. Drew Dober versus Matt Frevola. You're telling me that that's not going to be absolute chaos, especially in New Jersey. Matt Frevola, kind of close to his backyard. He's going to have, like, get ready for people to be like, steamroller. You know what I'm saying, man? And these two are going to stand and bang. They're going to put on a show. Drew Dober doesn't have boring fights. That's my fight to watch. My fighters to watch, y'all know Belal and Xiaonan, but to give y'all a different one, let's go with Khaos Williams. I know he's a big favorite, but let's see if he performs like a big favorite. And then Daniel Willie Catchy Santos. Like, you cannot miss a Daniel Santos fight. This guy is all violence, all action, goes forward the entire time. I fucking love this kid. All those guys are my fighters to watch. All right, cool. Now it's time for me to read y'all's comments, respond to y'all's questions. So if y'all got any questions, any comments, anything you want me to address, now's the time to leave it below. And let me see what y'all got. All right. So Scott Smith. What's up, Scott? He said, what's the record on coin flips? I know you hit the Muhammad Usman over Tafa. I'm going to bet every coin flip till it loses. You mean like coin flips in terms of the odds, or coin flips like on half the battle when I literally flip a coin? I don't remember. Like, I lost count. But I know I got the Muhammad Usman one right, but I don't even remember what the other one I coin flipped on was. If y'all remember, let me know. We see so many fucking fights that it's easy to lose track of this stuff. But Scott, man, I appreciate you being in here, bro. Moneyline, I made a great point. They should change the rule in terms of, like, y'all heard like my rant about how you shouldn't be able to win the belt off getting knocked out, like Aljo did against Peter the first time. Like, yeah, it was an illegal strike, and a DQ is legit, but like, it should be a DQ, yeah, and Peter shouldn't have the belt, but you can't, in my opinion, you can't call someone a champ who just got knocked out. Like, you just can't. So I agree with you. Maybe it's just weird because it's like, if it's a DQ, then it has to be a win for the other guy. But like, maybe change it to a no contest, even though it was clearly an illegal knee. I don't know. It's just such a weird gray area, because I truly don't think, maybe change it to a non-title fight. Give the DQ win to Aljo. Give Peter the loss, but don't give anyone a belt. Maybe that's the solution. Dominic agrees that was a really bad look. It was a really bad look. The Quag says he killed it last week. He bet Song by stoppage and Trey Waters by decision. Wow, great job, bro. Fantastic. JSJ23 said, "Happy Belal fight week, Dan. Let's cash plus money again." Happy Belal and Xiaonan fight week, my guy. Yes, sir. Money Liar said, he loves how I say Peter, Piotr, Petr, Peter, whatever it is. Y'all know exactly what I'm talking about. Let's see what else y'all got for me. Ghost Gardner says, "My concern is Sterling has to get the fight down to win, which creates a narrow path to victory for him." Yeah, unless he can like do what Marlon Moraes did in that first round, kind of chop down Henry's legs and just use that length, but not slow down. That's the big thing, not slowing down, because Sterling tends to slow down. So yeah, I agree with you. Dominic predicts that Cejudo comes back like John Jones. I'd love to see it. But Ghost says Sterling is massive though compared to Henry. The size advantage is real. Size advantage is real. It's just about what's the technique and the fight IQ advantage. The in-fight decision making. Who holds that advantage? Can't wait to see. Let's see. My boy sparring with reality. Liana Jojuna, top 5 go conversation. You know what I'm saying? I'm glad you're in here with me. Addicted to combat. Hey, he said the list of prime killers that 205 Jones beat. He beat every one of my favorites, dude. Like John Jones literally beat like a couple different eras of the sport and cleared it out. Still never lost a UFC fight. This many years later, bro. Like, are we approaching like a decade and a half, 2 decades? Like that is unheard of. Londo said, "If Jones doesn't fight Pavlovich, he's a coward." Bro, listen to me, bro. Firstly, John Jones is not a coward. Secondly, money talks. Thirdly, John said, "Look, no one knows about Sergey Pavlovich. No one gives a shit except like us hardcores. But money talks, and if UFC wants to make it worth his time, he'll take it. Trust me." John Jones is not afraid of any man. I mean, he was trying to fight Francis for the longest time, bro. So let's just see what happens after the Stipe fight. We take it from there. Professor Chaos says, "How would you see Aljo versus Patchy Mix play out?" Shit, that's tough. Probably Patchy because he's like more of a threat standing, and then they're both huge threats on the mat. But yeah, I don't really know. I haven't thought about it. Brett said Aljo's acting was DiCaprio level. You know what's funny, bro? I fucking love Leo DiCaprio. The Departed, Catch Me If You Can, bunch of other ones, but those two are my fucking all-time favorites, man. I just like I've literally watched Catch Me If You Can and The Departed like hundreds of times, and it never gets old. It's just two such classics, man. So yeah, love for Leo DiCaprio. And Aljo should have definitely won, the Academy Award for, actor of the year that year. Creep said Belal's fight against Brady was a banger. Belal, a super high IQ fighter, and always fights to his opponent's weakness. So yeah, that's what I was alluding to. What game plan is he going to come out with here? That's what I'm very curious to see, because every single time, like I mentioned in the breakdown, he's got a different approach every single time they fight. So for sure. Rolando said he likes Belal by KO. I'd love to see that, especially I think the better chance of that happening is down the stretch. But yeah, I'd love to see that. But I'm worried about the Gil KO. Do I think Bilal's been texting Habib at all? 100%, 100%. Like those guys, super close. So he's definitely been getting some insight for sure from the great Habib. Ghost Gardner said Dan pissed because they didn't let Belal, board Brady, like stiffen him and drop him. I am, man, because like when Belal has to hear all this bullshit about how he's not a finisher and this and that, and you have a clear highlight reel knockout that's about to happen, and then the ref stops it with a standing TKO. Don't get me wrong, Brady was done, but like let's give Belal that highlight reel knockout that he's been missing his entire career, man. I kind of felt like they fucked him on that. um, and Dees says Xiaonan has improved so much. She sure has. She sure has. Um, Kenshiro says, yeah, Xiaonan is very reliable. Well, according to the numbers, this is correct. Let's see. Quag says standing Kimura's work. You just can't let the opponent clasp their hands together. That's the key. Yeah, and both those examples I mentioned, Rose against Andrade and Nate Diaz against Rory, they let the opponent clasp the hands together. And the reason the opponent is able to clasp the hands together is because the person attempting the Kimura wasn't able to cut the proper angle to not allow the person to get their hands clasped together. Small World says if Evloev can finish anyone, it's a guy on short notice. He's got Evloev by rear naked choke. Yeah, I get your point, bro, but like Evloev, like you got to think about this, man. Firstly, he's never finished a fight in the UFC. Second, and we're dealing with like opponents like Sung Woo Choi, right? And then this other guy that he's fighting is like, from what I've seen, he's got pretty legit jujitsu. So it'd be cool to see Evloev get that finish. I'd be happy to see it, but my pick is that Evloev takes him all three. JGO says Jourdain is a slow starter, but once he gets the momentum going with striking, it's going to be a very tough for Kron. Yeah, assuming nothing crazy happens on the mat, I agree. MMA 420 says out of his 10 UFC fights, Korean Superboy and Kulabao were the only people to not take down Jourdain. Yeah, no facts. I mean, like I said, I've seen him even not get taken down. I've seen him throw kicks and fall, right? So that's all. It might only take one. It might only take one. But you know, this flat earther likes to stand and bang with Cub Swanson instead of submitting a guy who's been submitted like what? How many times? Well, granted, he couldn't get him down, so props to Cub. Guru said, "Can't wait to talk these fights with you tonight, brother. Y'all in the chat better like this video. Yeah, tonight, 8 p.m. Eastern time, I'll hop on Chronic Conversations with my boy Guru and TB. Excited to do that. I'm gonna be repping my Braves gear. You know, these guys are hardcore Mets fans, so you know we got to let them know who Daddy is. You know what I'm saying? All right, let me see if y'all got anything else for me, man. Lando says he's on Clark money line. Best of luck. But D says Kennedy's wrestling is going to surprise a lot of people. I can see it. My boy Charles Barkley said that pace Durden set last week was insane. Dude, Durden set the record for second most takedowns landed in a flyweight fight with 11. The only person to beat him is Muhammad Wakayev, set the same record. Well, set record with one more with 12, ironically enough, against the same opponent, Charles Johnson. So it's cool to see my boy Cody in the record books. Let's see. Y'all got anything else for me? I'm scrolling. Yeah, it's looking like that might be D says natural. Robbie said you are very quick to not be disrespectful. I think that's a compliment, right? Yeah, I mean, Charles said, "Do you do your topology to follow your picks?" Nah, man, I do my picks on half the battle, and my bets are tracked on Bet MMA Tips. You can also follow me on Twitter at Best Fight Picks. But the topology, I mean, I love looking at topology, but you know, I don't have enough time for all that. I'm already tracking my bets. I'm already giving them out on here. You know, but knock yourself out. Keep going for it, man. You know, if you enjoy doing it, but by all means. Who's the biggest bum I regret betting on? How much time you got? You know what I'm saying? How much time you got, bro? Let's see. Favorite prop bet on the card? I'm not a prop guy. There's guys that are much better at that than me. I'm just not into it. I mean, it's already tough enough to pick who's gonna win the fight, let alone find the value. And then when we're talking about methods and stuff, and yeah, you can hit some lottery spots and go big from time to time, but I mean cash big from time to time. But for me, I'm just give me the right side at the right price, and I'm good to go. But everyone's style is very different. He says I can't support Belal after the way he cried in the cage, bro. All right. What I want you to do right now is I want you to take your finger and I want you to stick it into your eye to where your knuckle actually goes in. And just go knuckle deep. Go knuckle deep into your eye and just let me know how you feel. That's all I need to know. It's not like he cried because he lost the decision. It's not like he cried because he took a punch to the face. Like I said, take your index finger, go knuckle deep into your eye, and let me know how you feel. Straight up. And then who even knows what kind of fingernails Leon has too, you know what I'm saying? And let's not forget about this. It wasn't just a little, let's do it slow. It was a, you know what I'm saying? So try that. Let me know how you feel. Uncle Scoob knows what he's talking about. Leo in the conversation for acting goat. The Departed, Catch Me If You Can, at Django. Yeah, Departed and Catch Me If You Can, bro. I mean, I fucking own those on DVD to this day. To this day. You know what I'm saying? Small World said Andrade got some tricks, man. That finish against Lemos. Yeah, I mean, that was a great standing arm triangle. Professor Chaos, we need a standing arm triangle tutorial. It's just like a normal arm triangle, it's just standing. So instead of like being on the ground and using the floor, you're using the cage or the fence as the floor. But this week for my technique of the week, I got the Russian Ronda armbar, so I'm excited about that. Small World says I hit that Dern bet thanks to you. I played his decision, his KO, and his KO or points as his hedge. So Dominic said I love going knuckle deep. Balls deep too. Yeah, someone said DC cried too, and he's a hell of a fighter. Yeah, like when you give your life to something and you have this dream and it's taken from you. I mean, dude, like if you've ever wanted something so badly and you give your blood, sweat, and tears in your life and all this sacrifice and it doesn't go your way, like we're human, like we're allowed to cry. It's okay. All those guys y'all are making fun of would fuck y'all up. You know what I'm saying? So just saying, man. All right, last call. If not, I'm getting out of here. Truly, truly appreciate it. Y'all make sure y'all hit that like button. Subscribe if you're not already subscribed. Leave me a comment after this is done. Feel free to share. That's greatly appreciated. And then also my new series, The Technique of the Week, comes out every Friday on my YouTube channel. And it's just basically want to make it just fun and easy to learn some jujitsu techniques. I try to keep it under 90 seconds, ideally under 60 seconds, and just try to spread some knowledge, whether you've never trained a day in your life and you just want to kind of know some little details of what's going on in jujitsu, or if you are training and who knows, maybe I'll show you something you haven't seen before. You never know. So bottom line is it's just a lot of fun for me. And if I can help someone out along the way, I love it. So tune in for the technique of the week on Friday. It's going to be the Russian Ronda knee bar. So I'm very excited to do that. All right, y'all. Thank y'all so much for everything. All y'all support, y'all being here means a lot. And let's keep it going. So best of luck to all y'all with your bets. Love yourself and someone else. You know what I'm saying? That just spread love, spread positivity. And until the next time, let's cash these bets.